Hello, happy Monday. And if it's not Monday for you, well, happy Tuesday. Or if it's not Monday, it's Sunday. Listen, we gotta do a geographical lesson on what the world exactly looks like. But welcome to another edition of XFeed. What's up? My name is The Schiller. We talk about NFT news that I think is kind of interesting, relevant, and you might find fun as well. But it's in a rapid fire type way, so let's get into it. So Tim Sweeney, guy behind Epic, right? We got to go check out the bio, right? You always see something, you see if they got something that's of relevance or if not, but that results in you having to know what they are. Epic Games founder and CEO. Very nice, very nice, very nice. So something that I found kind of interesting that I learned today excuse me, is that it's apparently not insanely hard to get on Epic Games. Now, that is from an interview that I did that's going to be coming out, I believe, next week or maybe the week after on the RWA Segments podcast. So if you're on YouTube, be sure to check that out in the description below, or if you're on X, check that out. But again, massive, right? Epic Games is a huge thing, and Tim Sweeney seems to be on the fence of liking the decentralized aspect, liking what's best for users, not necessarily what's best for companies, even though he himself has a massive company. So he posted this article from The Verge that was titled, "Joe Rogan has some feelings about Apple's App Store policies." And the quote tweet from that from Tim says, "Joe Rogan hates Apple's 30% monopoly app tax." Now, why is he throwing Joe Rogan's name in there? I don't know, I guess for kind of impact. But the point being is that we have these more notable individuals that are not really a fan of some of the quote unquote predatory practices of some of these bigger conglomerates that have, obviously, Apple's got kind of its grips on everything. And the fact that there's a 30% tax anytime that you purchase anything on an app, that's insane. It's almost kind of like DoorDash. If you didn't know, like DoorDash takes like a 30% hit or tax from the different restaurants. So a lot of the times, if it's a mom and pop shop and you happen to go in there, and if you mention, because this happened to me once, that, oh yeah, like I order this on DoorDash all the time, they're like, oh, anytime you can come out, we'd really appreciate it, because there's like a huge tax that they get hit on that, right? Which, I mean, it's companies. But for 30%, holy smoke. So expect to see some big players within Web3 start to show up, some of the decentralized aspects and things just changing overall. Trevor, Web2, Google owns my data. Meta owns my data. TikTok owns my data. Microsoft owns my data. Apple owns my data. I pay them to access my data. They charge others to use my data. In Web3 and the blockchain, I own my data. Google pays me for my data. Meta pays me for my data. Yada, yada, yada. You go on, and you can see the difference between the fundamental shift of where it's something that's actually beneficial for you, where before it's beneficial to somebody else. So again, it's slow, but surely having a little bit of a change. So I saw this from Dowser and the TLDR. Listen, we love TLDRs because we ain't got time for any of that stuff. That's the full breakdown. And listen, go check out an article, throw in ChatGPT, throw it in Grok, you do you. But the TLDR on this piece from Mikey Anderson, who is a part of the Think protocol that we had the big merger of from last week. But TLDR, every person will have a personal smart agent. So think about that. What are you going to call your personal smart agent? You know, Harry Swan, what's going on? Good morning, good morning, good morning. When in the halibut are we rivaling? True. For the same reasons, they now have a personal smartphone. And I love the representation of this as well, because we all do have a smartphone, right? And we're all going to have a personal smart agent. Centralized AI is using an outdated walled garden approach. Decentralized AI will win because it puts users first. And smart agents give people superpowers. Now, I feel like we kind of have this like back and forth. Yo, there's Dowser right there. What's going on? That's actually hysterical. But I think just when we look at this, right, and I'm very vocal as of like, I have not messed around with these AI agents at all. I've seen everyone talk on the timeline about this, that, and the other thing. I've seen some people call it vaporware. I've had other ones say this is the best thing you got to get into, and it's going to be Moon City. And I'm just kind of waiting to see like how this all flushes it out. I think it's interesting. I love like the AI XBT agent that gives different statistics on things. I find it very interesting, for sure. But what's the extra capabilities of things that we're going to see for these superpowers? And I think in 2025, we will find that out. Okay, so Pity, not to be confused with you-know-who, made this post that was a very interesting kind of retrospective. So I'll read the first part here. Little transparency here. A number of folks have written me off, in quotes, or discount what I say because I was so bullish on Wolf Game in the past, and we all know how that turned out. That's something I have to just get through. It is what it is. Now, I don't need to necessarily go through the rest of it, but I want to like highlight this is almost every single collection that is out there. But like it's with a caveat, right? So people, I mean, we'll use Yuga as an example because they're kind of like the top cheese, right? Well, I mean, we could argue for Pudgy Penguins, but let's use Yuga and Bored Apes as an example. So there's people that from like early days, right? Like we have the literal mint of Bored Ape Yacht Club uploaded on the YouTube video. If you go to the most popular videos, you can see that and see the reactions. Founder is like, we triggered the reveal for the whole collection, right? So historic, phenomenal. And arguably, we were right with that call of saying, hey, I think this is going to be pretty big. And ever since that inception, I mean, there's going to be collections and stuff prior to Bored Apes. Well, again, I'm just using that as an example. There's a ton of collections that didn't have the same heights, or it did at a point and then maybe fizzled out a little bit and got back. Because again, Wolf Game in the early days was like, oh my God, it was the bee's knees. Everybody was talking about it. One of the craziest things that happened within Web3 for the week or two that it was out. And I think one thing that we need to not do is like really disregard people that are excited or passionate about something. It doesn't matter if they're right or wrong about certain things, but everybody's putting their time and energy to try to inform other people or entertain around a certain collection. Because if I asked you right now, do you want to watch this stream about something that's very broad talking for all these different NFT collections? Or would you prefer me talk about specifically whatever your biggest holding is? And I would assume 9 times out of 10 or 9 out of 10 of you would say, oh yeah, an entire stream about specifically just like what I hold. I would love to know your thoughts and all this kind of stuff versus everything. So there's a lot of people that focus on niches. Again, always try to support them where you can. Okay, Enormous James says the endless nonsense posting by the AI bots is going to be overwhelming and annoying in a couple of weeks. So it depends if they get traction. We already have that. If you go to any reply on social media right now, it's bot responses for most of the replies. And you can also tell 9 times out of 10 that it is an AI that's written it, which is just like, God, feels bad. Okay, Somnia. What the hell is Somnia? Why did it pop out? And then why did it pop in? Does that that just sounds weird. Pretend I never said that. Okay, but Somnia, fully on-chain world. This was something that I thought Yuga and Bored Apes were massively partnered with. Like they were showing the Bored Ape Yacht Club was getting all these airdrops from it or something else. Got like 400,000 followers here. For millions of users, the fastest 400,000 transactions per second and most efficient EVM L1 blockchain with multi-stream consensus, bringing entire world's data fully on-chain. All right, cool. But for 9 times out of 10, we're just going to say, all right, where's Pokemon housed? Where can we play Marvel Rivals? I don't care about any of the behind-the-scenes stuff. But we're at a point in this time where we like somewhat care about the blockchain. I think that that's going to change very much as time goes on. Okay, so we got some alpha here for Yuga and potentially more.
And another one is a secret project that PP Man is working on. You probably want to keep it secret, right?
The secret project is very exciting. It's something that we're super stoked about. It's something that we think will reward both Bored Apes and other dude holders. Its own new thing. So it's something that really tickled Wiley and I. It involves a character that we invented. It involves AI and a crypto product that we're excited about. And anyway, it should be fun.
When is it coming?
I think a couple months. Yeah.
Okay.
I think before June.
So before June, we have a character that they've created. It involves Bored Apes. It involves other side land plots. I mean, that's not a whole lot to go off of, but I don't know if we've necessarily seen any price action off of that. And do you feel like in 2025, the speculation around things just isn't what it once was? Like, we've had things move around like token announcements or the McDonald's Doodles collab, but it's just, we had the volatility off of announcements and then we didn't. But guys, listen, if you play Marvel Rivals, Aries Swan's playing nightly, he's streaming nightly. I'm trying to get on as often as I can. But look at the 24-hour peak, 644,000 people. Not too shabby. But this is the likes of what we're going to look at. When people say the gaming bull run is here, are they talking about crypto? Well, your timeline, they probably are. But look, none of these are crypto. Do you remember when Pal World came out? We did videos on Pal World. Being comparison of, okay, these guys spent like $6 million to build this game. We have teams that have almost $1 billion raised that haven't gotten to the point or success that Pal World was. So it goes back to kind of arguments, wanting to get reassured of things. And it's interesting to see what teams can and can't really get reassurance from different individuals in the entire market as a whole. But again, listen, if we have a breakout game that does hit mainstream, think of the amount of players this is from the top here, 600,000 all the way down to 100,000. I mean, there's games out there in crypto that have that. It feels like most of them are on Ronin from what I've seen. But one day, we'll be up on that list. We're seeing more and more collections highlighting that they are dropping a token, this time over in the Solana ecosystem. Portals, which is, I don't know if I can say like the sandbox of Solana, but it's one of the metaverse platforms over there. The Portals Foundation is excited to announce Portals Token, the official token powering the Portals network. A universe of games, worlds, agents, and mayhem is only the beginning. Read below to see how you can become eligible for the upcoming Portals claim. So nice, a little bit of potential, more liquidity coming into the market. Now, if you haven't checked out the charts today, oh baby, maybe not. Oh wait, maybe you should. Are we mooning? So we had like a hell of a crash, if you could see, in like the past day where we were up like to 95, crashing down to like 91. It felt like I woke up to doomsday on the timeline, but now looking at this, are we just completely reversing everything? I distinctly remember at basically 12 o'clock, the post going out. Ethereum drops below 3,000. Or hold on, wasn't even that now, was? No, it was, hold on, redo. I remember at 8 a.m. Yeah. Because this was yesterday. So it dropped below like 3,000. Now it's going up again. And I mean, I don't know. The timeline's all sorts of crazy on it. We have the inauguration happening, I think, in like 9 days. And there was some announcement came out today that there was like an executive order around crypto that was going to be coming out when he takes office. So we'll see what exactly that means. And then half the people took that meme on the timeline and started saying, an executive order for XRP or an executive order for whatever their largest bag holding is. And it was kind of funny. But look, the fear and greed index, we've talked so long about how it was, greed. Now we're at neutral and we're going down. No. I mean, it is what it is. So if you haven't seen as well, there's a whole bunch of fun on the timeline because the Bankless podcast, I guess, got like an allocation of this token or like this pre-sale. And then it went up like $1 bajillion and then they sold it all. And it was like $500,000 worth. And then they rebought it because they were like, we shouldn't have sold it. And so these guys are just getting thrashed on the timeline. But the amount of drama and dumb stuff that's happening day to day is insane. So Gordon Goner here with an interesting post that I kind of agree with. One of the difficult parts of onboarding, which, before we get into it, have you guys ever actually tried onboarding a friend or a parent? Like, first of all, you have to hope that they're like relatively technologically savage, right? 2, you then have to go through like almost every single process because it's not just like, hey, write down this seed phrase. Okay, now you're like self-custodying. You got to be aware of all your emails now. You got to be aware of this and that. When you go and look on the different marketplaces, you're going to see the things that pop up that aren't like legit. Like they're like a real NFT, but nobody's ever going to end up buying all that stuff. And then if they get into something that you're like, hey, I think I'm really passionate about this. And then it goes absolutely horrible. And then they hate you for the rest of your life. And then if you do something well, then they're just going to constantly harass you for more alpha. And then you're like, well, I'm done. I don't have any more alpha. Yeah, there's basically no winning. DAOs are no longer onboarding friends. Oh, facts. But anyway, one of the difficult parts of onboarding new people into crypto at Yuga, back when I still thought that would be easy, was watching them assume the industry had broad, diversified centers of influence, especially off this app, which it really doesn't. Again, I have like a 50-50 take on this, but the hardest part is to get them to understand was that the only opinions that truly mattered summed up to about the size of a large public high school, and it basically operates like one. Great reference point, but when he says like diversified centers of influence of like who's impacting what, obviously there's like the crypto YouTuber that gets kind of shoved in like a certain category, the crypto streamer, certain category, the people that only post different takes on the timeline, again, their own category. But I've highlighted before, if you've watched the stream, where I've watched League of Legends, I've watched Overwatch, I've watched these random esport games and streamers, and they bring up crypto, and it happens like semi-regularly. And so, sure, maybe these people aren't telling their audience, like, oh, yeah, like, go out and buy these things. Because, I mean, why the hell would they? You know, playing Call of Duty, it's not really relevant in that way unless you're trying to pump the bags, right? But I think we'd be very, very surprised of how many different people are in crypto. I'm just throwing it out there. And yo, Jeremy coming through, winning the Prime Wiki's Best Creator of the Year 2024 for Parallel. Very nice, very nice, very nice. So highly recommend you guys go follow him on that. Congrats. And he is live like significantly more than I am. And he's actually playing a game instead of just yapping, providing you, you know, actually entertaining gameplay. Although I will have to say, it's weird when you like watch a trading card game, because I've gone through different ones, right? Like I've played Pokemon, I've played Magic the Gathering, I tried the Vibes TCG online, we did Gods Unchained. I'm trying to think if there's anything more, probably is. But the point being is trading card games are hilarious because it's like, you need to like really know what's going on. You need to like really know what's going on. But yo, Jeremy's got a whole bunch of different guides and whatnot around that parallel ecosystem. So if you find the stream somewhat entertaining or maybe a little bit hard to grasp at first, be sure to check out all of those goodies. Okay. Speaking of goodies, Izuki. We got another token coming. So Tyler D, anime tokens coming. Anime is a culture coin launching on ETH and Arbitrum. Overall, 50.5% going to the community, with 37.5% going to Izuki NFT ecosystem holders. Partner communities include Hype Stakers, Yappers, Arbitrum communities, and more. Over 75% of the tokens unlocked at launch. Team and company unlocked 33% at a year, and then literally year 1 to 3. So this is, listen, I think after we've seen this stupid, slow rollouts of tokens vesting to get like a yield over a certain amount of time because teams have to like spend the time building, and it feels like in 2025, I didn't know if we were going to see a big shakeup in the tokenomics, but it seems like that's very much the case. We saw with Pudgy Penguins, the whole thing was basically out in one go. Izuki doing 75%, so there's still a little bit of an overhang for that. But I mean, if you think back to the grapes, that was another vesting thing as well. We could go on and on about collections over the past 2 or 3 years. They've done a token, but it's been a little bit slower. So the reaction, I suppose, that you would have with this is, all right, well, what happens then for the Doodles token? Because we know that a Doodles token is coming. Is it going to be a big lump sum? Is it going to be something that's completely different? With the announcement of Izuki's having that token as well, let me go check right quickly to see if there has been any kind of price action. Holy sweet mother of pearl. Absolutely. This is up 7.94% in a single day. Wah. That's kind of nuts. So Izuki's right now are trading for, I'm just going to the floor on the Izuki. The offers are $41,000, which is insane. And the questions about are NFTs going to come back? Well, Izuki's, again, actual floor, 43,372, which, if we take that, right, we do USD to Canadian, because that's always a fun one. So it goes from 43,000 to 62,000 Canadian. See how many of you guys from elsewhere end up moving to Canada just because of the conversion right now. How crazy is that? Now, we saw Arbitrum change their profile to represent Izuki with an earring of the Arbitrum logo. There's nothing really else to add to that except for, like, do we see anybody else now change their profile picture to represent Izuki? The same way that we did with Pudgy Penguin. And do the people that switched to Pudgy Penguins still have those Pudgy Penguins, or was it only for the engagement at the time? Those are the questions we need to ask. Okay, final thing. So the minor one champions within Call of Duty Atlanta FaZe, they had this graphic. And what's hilarious now is they're showing one of the meme coin tickers in the background of FaZe Clan winning in Call of Duty. So when we talk about the influence being a little bit different, remember, it's still there. All right, that's it for this edition of XFeed. We got interviews, we got videos, we got a whole bunch of stuff that I still need to work on. We got to play Rivals with Harry Swans. There's way too much going on. It's absolutely crazy. Appreciate you guys coming on through. Dowser, you're a legend. Harry Swan, thank you again. And anybody watching afterwards, I hope you guys have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you tomorrow as per usual. Again, check out the podcast down in the description below or on my X page for RWA segments if you want some more goodies. Bot, base.